Hi, I'm Aiman, and welcome back to another video in our series on converting our patio to a 3-season sunroom. In our last video, I covered this faux stone siding, but now you can see that above it, this siding is complete. And so on the front side of our patio, as well as on this side, and I'll show you guys what it looks like on the back, we have this cement board siding, this horizontal cement board siding on the top half of our sunroom, which I think is a very nice balance to the faux stone siding that's on the bottom. So I talked a bit about it in my last video, exactly how this siding is installed, but it's very simple. You have to place a piece of cement board, kind of tilted, and then you gotta nail it in. And then on top of that, you stagger it a bit, and of course you get that sort of overlaid effect if you keep adding them on. And we modified the way that's meant to be installed. If I go back here, each of these cement board pieces is 6 1/4 inches wide, and they're actually meant to be staggered so that there is 5 inches of space, or 5 inches showing for each panel, which means that 1.5 inches, 1 1/4 is obscured. And there's actually a nail line about 1 inch away from the top where you are supposed to put nails to secure this in place. But we decided, instead of using that as the nail line, this is actually where we're going to use our guide for where the bottom of the next piece goes. So usually the way it would look like before, or normally, is that the next piece would actually obscure, it would hide the previous nails. But instead what we did was we used the nail line as a guide for the bottom of the next panel. Which also meant that we need to put the holes for the screw a bit higher. Now keep in mind, this cement board is very fragile. I mean, it's strong, but in some cases it can be fragile. Like I mentioned in my last video, these can come in very long, 12 feet sheets. And when my dad was carrying it from the car, he actually broke one in half. So they can be fragile in certain cases. And so in order to make sure that this didn't happen, you can see that one time when we nailed it in, it just broke off. We actually drilled the hole, pre-drilled the hole, using a drill. And then we used cement board screws to fix it in place. So just to recap, instead of normally what we would do is we would hide the nail under the next panel, we use this line as a guide for the next. And in order to allow this small space that we have left to actually work and not break off, we pre-drilled holes so that we could insert the screws into them. All right, so the practice stats, this is what all of our work looks like. Some terminology my dad wants to mention is that the screws that are hidden, or the nails that are hidden under the reveal, so the reveal is actually the face that is being shown, it's the face that's being revealed to the outside. The nails that are hidden under the panels are called blind nails, or blind screws. And of course you can't see any of the blind nails, you are blind to them. And so we did the front first. And while we were doing the front, we ran into a few problems. Now, on the sides up here and here, you can see that it looks perfectly fine. I mean, it's absolutely perfect, I will say. But as you go up, you'll see that starts to look a bit more, I can't point it out, but so of course on this side it looks very nice. It's supposed to be flush up against the side of the trim, and then as you go up, you'll see that it's pretty nice up until you reach this slanted area right here. Now at all of these panels that have a slanted edge, you'll see that they stick out a bit. After that last screw on each of them, that spike sticks out a bit, which is a problem for us because then it doesn't look nice. And what my dad was thinking was that he would put a screw like this, and then he would caulk it in order to keep it in place, which I will admit doesn't look very nice, and might not even stick. Even though it's glue, it's still fairly flexible. So keeping that in mind, when my dad did this side, he cut a notch in the trim for the siding. So you can see right here, this is actually where the siding extends out, and then you can see where it kind of cuts into the trim. So anticipating where the siding would go, he cut a notch for where it would go, which he couldn't do here because he already installed it here. All right, so now we're at the back of the sunroom, and as you can see, the siding job is absolutely well done here. It's perfect. I mean, the cock is right here. You can't see any of the blind screws. Something I like is that the panels, they line up with the bottom of this, wherever this these lights are mounted on. I'm not sure what you would call this, but it lines up really well. And in addition to that, we have a outside outlet installed. This is required by code. It even has its own cover, which is also required by code, which I'm going to open right now. Pretty nifty. And we installed this even though we already have an outlet over there. So we went above and beyond, or I guess what's required of us for this job. And I think it turned out really awesome. Now, something that my dad does wish he does want to improve on is down below here. So these railroad ties look very ugly. And we're thinking of ways to cover them up. We're probably just going to use concrete, slap it on the front, maybe mud. And I mean, obviously, it's just going to look like cover up concrete, kind of like this. But it's not really a big issue because no one really goes to this side of the house. So we'll probably do that if we have time. We have some other things to focus on because we're kind of rushing through this job because we have 3 weeks before our sister's wedding. So we're trying to prioritize what jobs we can do for the sunroof. So the thing I want to end this video on is that you can use any blade to cut this, any tool by the way. So you can use a hand saw or you can use a table saw. You can use any blade, general purpose blade, for example, to cut it, but you will damage the blade to the point where it can't be used for its regular purpose. So make sure that if you do use a table saw blade or a hand saw blade, that you reserve a specific blade for cutting the cement board. But with that being said, I'm Aiman, and thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and look at other videos on EyeOnAiman, especially our videos on converting the patio to a 3-season sunroom. In our next video, we're going to be covering some things that we installed inside the sunroom, like the fan and the shutters. And then after that, the last step will be installing the trim and the hardwood flooring. But for now, I'm Aiman, and signing out.